what does it take for our country to label these, to put them under that label of terrorists? I don't understand why that doesn't happen.
Well, you may be able to see, and we'll get into this later, but behind me is all my collages I've been making with all the dead kids, all these kids as young as 13 years old, dying in their bedrooms around the country at record levels that no one's paying attention to. They have the drug stigma. They shouldn't have been taking the drugs. That's fine. The problem is right now in America, mental illness off the charts, depression off the charts, anxiety off the charts, and the kids are turning to medication for help, but they don't know the medication they're taking is all tainted with fentanyl from these
Yeah.
dirty, filthy labs in Mexico. And Chinese lab operators are the ones sending all the chemicals to make it, and that's an absolute uh, deliberate act to destabilize and destroy America. And the American government is sitting back and not paying attention to it as it's escalating daily with these synthetic drugs that we've never seen in the history of this country.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I see it a lot in the streets, where we're at, to the point where we finally got the fentanyl. What is it called? Narcan.
Narcan,
Narcan. Yeah, we're all issued that stuff. But it's mostly for ourselves or for our partners. It's not necessarily for people in the street, which doesn't mean I'm not going to use it if I see somebody I suspect is having a fentanyl overdose. Um, but yeah, we're grossly unprepared for that. But I don't want to hit on that just quite yet. I want to go back to y'all's training. I'm very interested in the fact that you guys were going out in the real world and doing training ops. That is, you don't hear that.
Well, that's why, and I'm not trying to like brag about DEA, but the
No,
one thing,
brag about it.
well,
I like, this is shit people need to hear.
one thing about DEA that is kind of like unknown is that DEA agents over the years have been way more concerned about doing the job, protecting America, as opposed to talking about how great they are. Unfortunately, the public never really learned about how good the DEA is. And by the way, the DEA is not just doing good work in America, but they are positioned in over 65 countries. They have like almost 100 offices in 65 countries. They have the largest footprint of law enforcement investigators around the world, more than any other agency. And they're not sitting in the embassy with their sport coats on and their ties. They're out with the counterparts making investigations happen, okay, and building up evidence to charge individuals in America. When I was running this special operations division, the cool part about my job is I had 5 international teams that I would deploy around the world, work with our counterparts, work with the DEA around the world, and we would develop evidence to try to charge these kingpins and these massive transnational criminals and get the evidence and then set up sting operations to get them, captured in these countries, put them on jets, bring them back to America, mostly New York City, and charge them. So you may have heard recently about this arms trafficker, Russian arms trafficker, Victor Boot, that
Yeah.
President Biden swapped for Brittany Griner, who is the WNBA player who's sitting in prison in
Yeah.
Russia. We made the case. My guys at the Special Operations Division, working with DEA around the world, we're the ones that developed the conspiracy case to take Victor Boot out in Thailand. And so the thing is we DEA doesn't just go after drug traffickers. Just last week on Nat Geo, there was a special on Operation Titan. That was part of DEA's effort to infiltrate the terrorist organization Hezbollah, who is working with the Mexican cartels, making hundreds of millions of dollars. And we infiltrated them. We took down a lot of bad guys. We seized a lot of money. But these are the kind of things that the DEA doesn't get recognized for. We took all these kingpins off the playing field in Afghanistan, as an example. If you look at Time magazine many years ago, there was a picture of Haji Bashir Norzai. He was a tribal Taliban kingpin. The military was trying to kill him for years. We actually sent our informants into the Afghanistan, convinced them, blah, 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 blah. He gets captured, brought back to America. So he was in jail in America because of the DEA efforts and our capabilities with informants and developing investigations. But the point is that DEA has done better over the years at advertising what they're doing, but they're still operating under the radar. They're very powerful. The culture of DEA has always been type A, very aggressive, very passionate about the country and the mission of keeping this poison off the streets and saving lives.
So I was unaware. I'll touch on it since you brought it up. I was unaware that the DEA had a footprint anywhere outside of the U.S. I guess. Maybe that's common knowledge. I guess I just I never, like I said, I never sat down with a DEA guy. So because I just thought it was a CONUS thing, not going outside of the country. So going outside the wire, I guess you could say, is we have a footprint throughout the the
Absolutely. And we
world.
call that a force multiplier. So, what DEA has been very good at, and I never worked overseas, so I can't take any credit for this, but I actually was, like I said, running DEA special operations for the last 10 years of my career. So, I got the luxury of the great work being done overseas by our DEA agents working with the counterparts.